In the middle of Lent, there was a strong thaw. The snow quickly began to melt, and water appeared everywhere. The approach of spring in the village made an unusually irritating impression on me. I felt something I had never experienced before. A special kind of excitement, and followed every step of spring. The muddy thawing became wider and longer, the lake in the grove filled up more completely, and water was already showing through the fence between the cabbage ridges in our garden. Everything was noticed by me accurately and attentively, and every step of spring was celebrated as a victory. Rooks have been walking around the yard for a long time, and began to see nests in the Rook Grove. Starlings and larks also arrived, and now a real bird began to appear, game according to the hunters. How much excitement, how much noisy joy. The water arrived strongly, the river overflowed its banks, merged with the lake of the Rook Grove. All the banks were strewn with all kinds of game. A lot of ducks were swimming on the water between the tops of flooded bushes, and meanwhile, large small flocks of various migratory birds were constantly passing by. Some flew high without stopping, while others flew low, often falling to the ground. Some flocks sat down, others rose, and others flew from place to place. A scream, a squeak, a whistle filled the air. Not knowing what kind of bird is flying or walking, what its dignity is, which of them is squeaking or whistling, I was amazed, distraught by such a sight. I listened, watched, and then I didn't understand anything that was happening around me. Only my heart was pausing, then pounding like a hammer. But after that everything seemed to me. Even now it seems to me clearly and distinctly. It gave and gives constant pleasure. Little by little, I got used to the coming spring and its various phenomena, always new, amazing and delightful. I say I got used to it in the sense that I no longer went into a frenzy. It was impossible to look at the sun now. In shaggy, dazzling streams it poured down from above. Clouds floated across the blue sky, like piles of snow. The spring breezes smelled of fresh grass and birds' nests. In front of the house, large buds burst on fragrant poplars. Chickens were moaning in the heat, and grass was climbing in the garden firm behind the heated ground, piercing the rotting leaves with green tussocks. The whole meadow was covered with white and yellow stars. Birds were arriving in the garden every day. Blackbirds ran between the trunks, dodgers walk on foot. There is an oriole in the lime trees. A big bird, green, with yellow as gold under a cannon on its wings, fussed, whistled in a honey voice. As soon as the sun rose, starlings woke up on all roofs and birdhouses, sang with different voices, wheezed, whistled sometimes with a nightingale, then with larks, then with some African birds, in which they had heard enough over the winter across the sea, mocked, out of tune terribly. A woodpecker flew through the transparent birches with a gray handkerchief. Sitting on the trunk, he turned around, raised his red tuft on end. And so on Sunday, on a sunny morning, in the dew-soaked trees by the pond, a cuckoo crowed with a sad, lonely, tender voice, and blessed everyone who lived in the garden, starting from the worms. Live, love, be happy. Peekaboo. And I'm going to live alone with nothing. Peekaboo. The whole garden listened to the cuckoo in silence. Ladybirds, birds, frogs, always surprised by everything, sitting on their stomachs, as if on a path or on the steps of a balcony. Everyone made a fortune. The cuckoo cooed, the whole garden whistled even more cheerfully, rustled the leaves. An oriole whistles in a honey voice, just like a pipe with water. The window was open. The room smelled of grass and freshness. The light of the sun is shaded by wet foliage. A breeze blew, and dewdrops fell on the windowsill. It was so good to wake up, listen to the whistle of the oriole, look out the window at the wet leaves. Spring, spring, and everyone is glad to see her. Spring, long delayed by the cold, suddenly began in all its glory. And life began to play everywhere. The undergrowth was already turning blue, and a dandelion was turning yellow on the fresh emerald of the first green. A swarm of midges and a bunch of insects appeared in the swamps. After them, a water spider was already running after them, and after it, every bird. In the dry reeds gathered from everywhere. And everyone was going to take a closer look at each other. Suddenly the earth was populated. Forests and meadows woke up. There were round dances in the village. There was a lot of space for a walk. What is the brightness in the greenery? What is the freshness in the air? What is the birds' cry in the gardens?